So today we're going to talk about how to make a Jeopardy game like this. The first thing I'm going to do is start a new project. So I can go to blank presentation. You won't need any of these design things, so I can change this to a blank slide by simply going to layout and choosing blank. I'm going to immediately create some extra blank slides for myself, just because I know I'm going to use them later. So, the very first thing I'm going to do is set my home screen. So I want this to look more similar to a Jeopardy game. So the very first thing I'm going to do is change the background. We can do that under the Design tab. I'm going to go to Format Background, and I'm going to change this to Picture. I'll hit Insert, and I can simply go to Online Pictures. You can also go to Google to look for pictures and then download them, but it's a little bit faster if I just go to Online Pictures and search here. So I'm simply going to search Jeopardy background, and I'm going to go with this one here. Hit Insert, and immediately the background changes. Now I'm going to duplicate this slide by right-clicking and hitting Duplicate so that I can use one as a start page and the other as my main game board. So on slide number 1, I'm going to insert a start button by going Shapes. I'm going to choose this rectangle. I can add text here quite easily by hitting Text Box and simply clicking inside my shape, now turning it into a text box, and I'm going to write in Start. If you want to make sure that this button is exactly centered on your slide, you can simply click it, and then up here you'll see the Align tab. Drop down, and I can align this to center, and now it'll be positioned center on the slide. When someone clicks the Start button, I want to move to my main game board, which is going to be on slide number 2. So with this Start button selected, I'm going to hit Insert, then Action, and on mouse click, I'm going to hyperlink it to a slide, and that's going to hyperlink to slide number 2. Hit OK. Now we'll go to slide number 2, and we'll create our main game board. So in Jeopardy, we have 6 categories, each with 5 questions. So I'm going to go back to Insert. I'm going to start inserting shapes to create my categories. Don't worry too much right now about the size of the button or its position. We'll change all of that pretty soon. So I'm going to start with making one column here by copying and pasting multiple of these squares. I need 5 for my questions and then one extra one at the top for my category, so a total of 6 of them. Then I'm going to select all of them by hitting Control A. And now I can adjust their size. So when I choose one of these shapes and shrink it, notice that all the shapes are changing at the same time. So I'm guessing they're going to be about that height. I can adjust that later on. And then what I'm going to do is, with them all still selected, I'm going to go to the Align tab. And notice here there's 2 different ways you can align. You can align to the slide, or you can just align the selected options. I'm going to align to slide, and then I'm going to choose Distribute Vertically. And what that's done is it's spaced them all evenly vertically. So notice I have quite large gaps now. So I know that I can make these shapes slightly bigger. So I'm going to just choose one of them, and as I drag it up, notice the spaces are getting smaller and smaller. So maybe there. Then I'll go back to Align, and I'll align vertically again. So I'm pretty happy with that spacing there. Now notice that some of these are slightly misaligned with each other. They jog out a little bit. So I can go back to Align. I'm now going to align selected objects, and then I'm going to align center. So that lines them all up neatly. Now that's one column. I'm going to copy this and make my other columns, but before I do that, I'm going to add the values to these columns so that I don't need to type in my values individually into every single column. So with one shape selected, I'm going to go to text box. In the Jeopardy game, values start at 200 and then go up by 200s. So the first one is going to be a value of 200. The next one has a value of 400, then 6, 8, and 1000. Now that I have one column complete, I'm going to copy this to make my other columns. So again, I'm going to go Control A to select everything. And under Shape Format, where we had the Align, we also have something called Group. So I'm going to select this and hit Group. And now it's treating all of these selected objects as one item. So now I can copy and paste that entire thing. And I'm going to make 6 of these columns. Now with my 6 columns, I'm again going to go Control A so that I select each of the 6 groups all together. And I'm going to do 2 different things to organize them neatly. First of all, I'm going to align selected objects, and I'm going to align middle. That adjusts them all so they're the same height. Then I'm going to align to slide, and now I'm going to distribute them horizontally. So that spaces them all out that way. Now, with them all still selected, I'm going to go back to group and I'm going to ungroup. So now they're all back to individual squares. I'm happy with my vertical spacing, but I don't really like the big gaps horizontally. So I'm going to go again, Control A, and by grabbing one of these shapes, I'm going to slowly slide it over until I feel happy with the spacing, about there. So the next thing we have to do is put in our category titles. The category titles can be whatever you would like them to be. Just for an example, maybe I'll do one of geography. I'm going to make another one for cars, maybe one for animals, one for food, one for music, and a final one for oddities. But you can make your categories into whatever you'd like. So the remainder of our slides are going to become our question and answer slides. Again, I'm going to create one as my main template, and then I'm going to duplicate it for all my other questions. So starting with slide number 3. The Jeopardy game is very blue themed. You could theme it differently if you like, but for this example, I'm going to stick with the theme that's going. So the first thing I'm going to do is go back to design. I'm going to format background. And instead of doing a picture this time, I'm simply going to go color, and I'm going to change the color to blue. I want each of these question and answer slides to have a banner that says what category in question it is. So I'm going to go to Insert, Shapes. I'm going to choose a rectangle. And I'm going to put a rectangle at the top here. I'm going to make this, I'm going to fill it with white. And I want it centered, so again, I'm going to go Align, and I'm going to align center. The other thing I want is a banner at the bottom that I can select to reveal answers. So I'm going to go back to Insert, back to Shapes, another rectangle. This one I'm going to fill black. And I'm going to extend it a little bit so that it reaches all the way across the slide. You wouldn't have to, but that's just the way that I'm choosing to do this one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this rectangle and make a paste it, make a second copy, and I'm just going to slide that up for now. What I'm going to do with this is it's going to cover up my answer later on so that we can reveal it when we want to show the answer. I also need a button that's going to take us back to the main game board. So I'm going to insert an oval, just right here. I'm going to add text, and this is simply going to say back, and that will take us back to the main game board. So I'm going to right away go and hyperlink this. We can click the shape, go Insert, Action, Hyperlink to Slide, and we're going to hyperlink back to slide number 2. Hit OK. If we go back to our example board here, I'm going to do a question for animals 200. So I'm going to go to this slide. In this shape, I want to create my answer box. Remember that in Jeopardy, things are kind of mixed around. Instead of asking a question and giving an answer, you're always given the answer as a statement, and then we reveal the question. So our question is, what is a giraffe? And that comes from the answer, which we need to put up here. So I'm going to insert a text box. So insert text box. And I'm going to say this animal is tall and lives in Africa. I'm going to change the text to white. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger just for visibility. I want that centered again. So I'm going to go shape format, align, center. All right, now I'm going to take my duplicate black rectangle and I'm going to drag it over top of this question that we created so that it hides it. I'm then going to add an animation so that it disappears when I click it. So we're going to go to disappear. I want to see what I'm doing with my animations, so I'm going to open the animation pane here. I can see that I've just animated rectangle 3. That's what this black rectangle is called. So I'm going to trigger it on the click of rectangle 3. Now this back button, I don't want visible right now. I only want it visible once I've shown the question. So I'm going to click the back button, and under shape format, I want to send it backward so that now it's positioned behind this black rectangle. A little tip, if you want to, because this black rectangle is covering everything right now, if we want to see what's behind it, we can simply click it, go selection pane, and you'll see all the items on this slide. We can simply show and hide the items by selecting the eyeball button. So right now I've selected rectangle 3, and if I hide it, I can see what's underneath, and when I show it again, it's nicely hidden. In the top here, I need to name what slide this is. So I'm going to go shape format, I'm going to add a text box, and this was animals. My text is in white, so I'm going to change that to black by going home, text. And so this is the question for animals 200. So I'm going to go to the main game board. I'm going to select that matching square, animals 200. I'm going to go insert, action, hyperlink to, and this will link to slide number 3. Okay. At the same time, when I click this button, I also want it to vanish. So I'm also going to add an animation. That's going to be a disappear. And if I open my animation pane, I can see that that's rectangle 17. So the trigger here is going to be on click of rectangle 17. All right, let's give this a test run. So I'm going to go slideshow, current slide. And if I click animals 200, that takes me here. This animal is tall and lives in Africa. I click my banner to reveal what is a giraffe, and I click back to go back to the main game board. Now, one thing that we still have a problem is if I just click randomly, it's going to start advancing slides. So to get rid of that, you can simply click on any slide, go transitions, where it says advanced slide on mouse click, deselect that, and then hit apply to all. So now when we run the same scenario, slideshow from current slide, if I click anywhere randomly, I'm still safe, I'm not advancing slides, and right now the only thing I have linked again is the animals 200, which I can go through those things. Notice that when I go back to the main game board, this square is still vanished, meaning showing that that question is gone, and I can just work with the other ones. So you can continue on with that, doing all of your other questions. How I would recommend you do that is by going to slide number 3, which you have now done all your animations for. Right click and hit duplicate. Then you're simply going to change some information. This would be for animals 400. I can change my question here. So maybe I say this is the only white bear. I can go back to shape format and align this center again in case it's moved. And of course I need to change the information under this black rectangle. Because I don't want to risk messing up my alignment, I'm not going to move the black rectangle. I'm simply going to click it, go selection pane, and I'm going to hide it so that I can edit the information underneath. And this, of course, is what is a polar bear. The back button I don't need to do anything with because it's still hyperlinked back to slide 2. The only thing I need to do is go back to my game board, go animals 400, and hyperlink this to slide number 4. So insert, action, hyperlink slide number 4. Hit OK. So once you've got the first one done, duplicating it and moving to your other slides is going to be relatively quick. The one thing you do have to be careful of when you're hiding objects is because I've currently hidden the black rectangle that was covering this, if I ran the PowerPoint right now, it would still be visible like this. So I need to make sure I re-show that rectangle so that it hides this information again before I start the PowerPoint. Continue on that with all of your other questions and values. The last thing you might want to do is add background music. So if I go to my home slide, I'm going to go Insert, Audio, and I'm going to insert an audio that I've already downloaded from YouTube. So I'm going to go to Audio on my PC, and I have here the Jeopardy theme. I'm going to insert that. This icon doesn't really matter where you put it because it won't be visible anyway. But selecting it, I'm going to simply select Play in Background so that it plays across my slides. So now we can give this a final test run. I'm going to go slideshow from the beginning. There we have our lovely Jeopardy background music. Notice if I click anywhere, nothing's happening until I click the start button. And then we can begin playing. So maybe I'll go animals 400. This is the only white bear. Polar bear, go back. And here we have an issue. The one thing I forgot to do is take animals 400 and animate it to disappear when I click it. So disappear. We can go animation pane. This is rectangle 18. So the trigger is going to be on the click of rectangle 18. From there, you can duplicate that information for all your other values.